totally. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I don't know the last time we saw
It's
each other in person, like
I'm like 20 years ago or something, probably.
20,
I don't
probably
know.
20 years.
Like you
Yeah.
were probably still living in, yeah, like you were living in Florida probably, and I was living in Florida. Like it was, so I have been up here. I mean, I've been out of Florida since like 2001. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I left in 99.
oh,
So
holy cow. Damn, man. Isn't it funny getting old? It, you
no.
know,
What's
well,
the funny part? Everything
you know
hurts.
what's funny is that this is a perfect segue into the book because like yesterday or not yesterday, last week, Fall Out Boy announced a tour and Jimmy Eat World is opening.
Yeah.
And my one of my supervisors, Teo, wrote me a text message and was like, "Oh my God, Fall Out Boy is playing, and Jimmy Eat World is opening. I'm so excited because I love Jimmy Eat World." And I responded and I said, it's funny. I saw Jimmy Eat World in like somebody's house once in the 90s, and they were like, don't tell me that. They were like so like freaked out by that because they're it's kind of cool. Sometimes it's cool to be old, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some story. Yeah. I just did an interview with Alternative Press and
Uh-huh.
they were asking me like a fun show memory or like one of the first times I saw one of the bands in the book. And I was like, I saw Thursday in an abandoned barn. There was no power and somebody got naked and jumped out of a window. Like
Yeah,
just doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it might, but not
yeah,
so often. Yeah.
yeah. It's not the same. It's really not the same. And I think that like generally when I've kind of gravitated more towards like going to like really traditional hardcore shows because that feeling is still there because it's still chaotic,
It is. Yeah.
and like that's I love that. I like all I want to do is take my kid to a hardcore show and my wife will not let me do that.
Oh, not
I mean, he's
yet or
10.
not ever.
No, not yet. I mean, he's 10.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like, like I went to see Drug Church and Drain a couple of months ago and I wanted to take him so badly and she was like, I am not letting you do that.
Yeah. It's hard with kids. My daughter, every time my husband or I go out to a show, she's like, "Can I go with you?" And I went to see LS Dunes right when we moved. We just moved to Tennessee, and right when we got here, they were playing, and she's like, "Can I come?" Because in LA, it's a little different. We know a lot of people. Like she can hang backstage. Like it's like comfort safeness. But this was, I didn't know anybody at the venue. I was like, you can't come with me to see LS Dunes at 11 o'clock at night in downtown Nashville. Like, you just can't. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to getting him there though. My younger kid, I think, is a little too scared. But the older one, I think, will really like find his like peace at that chaos, the like at the chaos of a show like that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, you're younger. I think your youngest and mine are close in age. Mine is almost 8. Is your
yeah,
youngest
yeah.
8?
Miles is almost 8 too, and then
Yeah,
River. And but yeah, it's I think it's cool getting old. Like I'm into it.
you're right. Yeah, no, it's like a hair trigger response to,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are getting in touch about the book and they're like,
Yeah.
this was my youth, this was my formative, like these are my formative years, and I'm like, me too, it was me too. And then a lot of kids are like, I'm 23, and I'm like, I love that for you. Like,
How how wonderful. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So tell me, so like for those who don't know, tell us about the book and tell us who's featured in the book and how it all came to be.
Okay, so how it came to be was strange. I was at an old friend's house. You might know him. Do you know RJ Shaughnessy? He's a Florida kid too.
I've definitely interacted or had like paths have crossed. I've never like hung out with him, but I'm sure yes, I know him and I know the name. Yeah, because he's a
Yeah,
photographer.
so he's a photographer, and during he was moving and he was cleaning out his basement, and he found these merch bins full of negatives, like tons and tons and tons, and a lot of them were from my old bands. And he was like, you should come over and like take these, I don't need them anymore.
Uh,
And when I started looking through them, I found other bands that he shot for me for magazines or promo things and whatnot, and it was just like, these are really great. Like, and when he shot them, it was late 90s, early 2000s, and he was still shooting on film, and back then it was so expensive. So we would like look at a contact sheet, pick two, and then have those printed or send those to whoever needed them. And then the rest of the roll would just get chucked in a bin, because it's like, to digitize that many photos back then was like so expensive.
yeah.
So there were so many images that hadn't been looked at ever, or in 20 plus years. And as I started digging through them, I was like, this is a book. Like, this is important. People need to see these things. And it prompted me to start looking through my boxes and boxes. And when the pandemic hit, I there was a moment where it was like, this could be a documentary, like this could be really cool, we can interview everybody we know. And then the pandemic hit, and it was like, okay, this is a book. Like, I'm not doing interviews on Zoom for something of like high art value. And from there, I just started reaching out to different photographers and different friends, and people started reposting. And it was like, like the old days when it was like, hey, we need a show in this place, and someone's like, I know someone, and then they connect you with a friend of a friend, and then it works out. It was like that, but with photographers. And there was a little bit of like, who are you, and can I trust you, because I don't know you. And so you had to kind of be like, no, like, I'm an ally, like I've been around forever, like I'm not just happening upon the scene and trying to profit off of it.
Yeah.
So, and the
Like, I mean,
book.
just to interject really quickly though, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that you had a very successful record label. Like you should explain that too, because like I feel like that's a real, I feel like most people probably knew who you were, that you were talking.
Yeah, so when I was younger, when I was very young, I started a record label. I was 16, and it started with Florida bands and bands that I was friends with that I already knew. And then I eventually moved to LA and started signing bands all over. So yeah, I was knee deep in music things for a good chunk of my life. So this stuff isn't like new to me.
Yeah.
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 So the book is, I think there's 50 contributing photographers, and there's about 80, I should know this number, but I think it's like 80-ish bands that are featured. And the only thing I can say for that is that I wish there were more, but when you are using like such a defined space like paper, like you can't fit every single band. And when I had to pick and choose those things, like it just broke my heart, because then it would be like, do I have high quality photos? Like, where does this fit in the puzzle? So it was really hard to pick and choose, but I'm really happy with how it came out.
Yeah, I can't wait to, I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on a copy. And
Wait, you don't have one yet?
I don't have one. No, I've just been looking at like what you've been posting and just being like, oh man, like it just really brings me back to that feeling.
Oh
But
my
no, I don't
goodness.
have a copy yet, but we've pre-ordered, like so many people have pre-ordered through us. And so we're gonna get a lot of copies
Okay, well, I'm gonna like overnight you one today, because that's a little bit of a PR fail.
no, it's all good. Like, no, it's totally cool. Like, I mean, I definitely understand and know most of the bands that are covered, and what like so like in terms of like the photos that you contributed, your own photos, like what are like the favorite bands that you made that made it into the book, and then what are also like were there any photos that you were like, damn, I really want to put this picture of this band, but they played like two shows and no one knows who they are, so I can't put it in? Or was there anything like that?
Okay, so great example of that. And it's not that no one knows them, but they're lesser known on a grand scale. but I had to get like genre specific on certain things. And I really wanted to include you and I. And on the spectrum, they're way more on like the screamo side. And one of the photographers that contributed to the book, his name was Paul D'Elia. He had the most amazing photos of you and I, and like they made it round after round after round, and then finally it was like, I can't include them. Like it just didn't fit. Like it was too screamy, too heavy. Like it was like I'm venturing into a screamo land, which is, for people that aren't genre familiar, that's a little confusing, but I tried to keep it like emo anchored.
Yes.
And sort of in the same respect, like I had the same heartbreak with Refused, which I think a lot of people won't argue whether you and I is or isn't, but a lot of people will with Refused. And like I felt like with each band, it was like writing a term paper. Like it was like when I sat down to think about Refuse, and like sometimes when you just look at the photos, it's like I can tell by the atmosphere and the clothing and the crowd, like that's not an emo band. Like even though they are to me and I wanted to include it, I couldn't do it. So those were two really big ones. And then I think for photos that I personally contributed, it's such a like basic answer, but a lot of the dashboard confessional photos for me like feel so special.
Yeah.
Because they're so nostalgic for me. Like it's like it feels a little bit self-serving, but it's like I was there. I remember taking this photo. I remember that day. I remember all these things. So they feel like really special to me.
That's great. I mean, that makes total sense. And I'm also really excited to see one of the bands on the list that I saw that I'm actually really excited to see photos from is our Braid, because I just saw them recently.
Yes.
What did any of those shows?
I didn't, because by the time they were in LA, I had just moved, and then either they were in Tennessee before we got here, or like I missed both legs of it. And there was a big part of me that almost flew to Austin because Recover, who was one of my bands, they were opening on that little stretch. And I was like, I'm just going to fly to Austin because I should. And it was just bad timing because my life was in boxes and everything was upside down. And I was like, I can't do it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was like just seeing them again after all these years was like, it was really fun, and it was amazing how good they sounded.
They're
And just,
so tight. Yeah.
yeah, it was like I don't know how much they rehearsed, but like I was like, damn, like this is exactly the way it was, and it was just like
Yeah.
all of us were just a little bit wider, like
Yeah.
and but it was really fun to see them again. And they were like one of my favorite bands in the 90s.
Same. Yeah, Bob Nana wrote an essay for the book, and like he's on my like favorite lyricist of all time list kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So reaching out to him, I'm like, hey Bob, longtime fan, can you maybe write an essay? And like I know him, like I worked at Vagrant when Hey Mercedes ran through that world, so like we've met, I know him, but still like asking him to contribute was terrifying. And I love his essay so much. And they're one of the bands, there are a couple bands that so many good photos came in that it was just like, this is too hard. I could do a whole book just on you guys. Like
Yeah.
they just aesthetically, they always had the best shots.
Yeah, they
So
were
yeah,
always like a band that felt like very well covered, despite how little they were in terms of just like popularity. I mean, I think
yeah,
they were so influenced. I mean, so many people were influenced by them, like from like Fall Out Boy to whatever, to
100%. Yeah,
but their time frame was so short in certain
yeah,
ways. And but there was that whole documentary about them, and like
yeah.
their last show was so well documented in
Oh
Chicago,
yeah.
and so it's really cool that there's so much history that exists now on Braid, which is a band that like I don't think a lot of people even think about that much.
I mean, for those of us that were there, I think they do. Like, I think they're actually a good exception to the rule where they were like valued in their time. it wasn't like 20 years needed to go by and then people were like, huh, that band was real good. Like I flew to those last Braid shows, the first round of them. Like I went to the Fireside Bowl when they had the big spinny wheel thing. Um, it was just like song roulette and it was incredible. I feel like I don't know, they're just a very special band for sure.
Yeah, they really are. And so what about like, some of, there are bands that I think that people will get your book and discover through your book, which is cool. And then there are like the bigger bands that people are like are probably picking up the book for. So if you could you talk about some of those bands and like who shot that stuff? Like
For
the Mike
sure.
stuff and maybe there's Mike M and Fall Out Boy and stuff like that too in there, right?
There is. And it's kind of what you're hinting at. So I'm hoping that for the younger people that pick up the book that have either just discovered this scene or this genre, that I'm hoping that the larger bands are kind of like a gateway drug, where it's like, you came for My Chemical Romance, but have you tried these 200 other wonderful things? So yeah, I'm really hoping that people spend some time with either stuff they haven't heard yet or they've heard the name 1,000 times but don't know what to listen to. I'm hoping this is like a little bit of a map for people.
Yeah.
Um, and for the larger bands, some were easy, some were difficult. Either finding era appropriate imagery, like Paramore is fantastic, but they really only caught like a year of the tail end of the third wave. So finding photos of Paramore from 2006 is so much harder than finding them even of like 07, 08, 09. Like I got so many images that were like 1 year too late. And I really didn't want to like asterisk things because it doesn't really give you a like an exact feeling of this is what it was like in 2006. Like, so if I include Paramore from 2009 and I'm like, this photo was taken in 09 and it's massive, it doesn't really let you know, like, hey, in 2006, like Paramore was on Fueled by Ramen when Fueled by Ramen was still pre blow up, you know?
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't massive from the jump. So some of their photos, Paramore in specific, their photos were fan photos, not even of like a professional photographer that's still shooting professionally. It was fan shots, which I love also because it gives you that accurate depiction of like, this was just a person in a crowd shooting for fun. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like photo pass and on the side and it's well lit, like it's different.
And
So
how did you like find those people that to get them to contribute to the book? Like how did you find those photos?
it was full on like punk rock grapevine, like friends of friends of friends of friends. And social media was such a help. Like it's kind of depressing now, but my Facebook page, which I never used, like my face, I feel like I aged out of Facebook and at some point it just became like a Rolodex and it worked. Like it posting stuff on Facebook and Instagram really helped. And then in the middle of all of it, my Facebook page got hacked and I had to delete it and I lost everything. And I was like, okay, that was awesome. Let's not do that again. So now I have like 200 friends and I'm like, great, 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 great.
Cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to the book and I'm really looking forward to having you. What date? When are you going to be here? When are you doing?
October 27th. So the book comes out the 24th and I'll
Uh-huh.
be there the 27th doing a Q&A.
That's awesome. I can't wait. And it's like all under wraps what you're doing, right? There's some like secret stuff you're planning.
There's some secret stuff. I think we're going to announce it in about 10 days when we have a cool graphic.
Nice. Wonderful.
And when I say we, it's me when I make the cool graphic with my best design friend.
Well, cool. I'm looking forward to it and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on the book and and yeah, so it's gonna be great. So I guess whoever's watching this can like pre-order at Books Are Magic and Amy will sign your book for you. Um and uh and if you're in New York, come to the event or any of Amy's other events. You're doing other events, I'm assuming, around.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be great. Yeah, come out to New York. I'll sign a book. We can handshake or high five or hug or whatever everybody likes to do these days.
Wonderful. All right, cool. So did we do it, Aisha?
We did it. We did it. I'm gonna
Awesome.
start the recording soon, take a look at it and edit it together. That was
Cool.
awesome.
All right. Well, nice to see you, Amy, and I'll see you in
Nice to see you too.
I'll see you in
see
like
you
a
in a
month.
month. I'm so
All right.
excited.
Awesome. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Aisha.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Thanks, Mike. Bye.